Okay, good day. My name is Peter Jordan. And again, I have Chanel back again. Lucky me. And I feel so supported by Chanel. Thank you, Chanel, so much. I'm so grateful for the help that you are giving me and giving everybody else around there so that they can see and watch you as you grow and as you respond to these different kinds of emails. So thank you. I appreciate it. So today I want to talk about the strengths that we have developed as a result of the position that you're in your family where it is that you were born. This is the second video from the first one. The first one we just discussed the sexual abuse and the different strengths that emerged out of that. And in this one will be the strengths that emerged out of you and your position in the family. But, you know, we always have to take these things with a bit of caution because it is that not everybody is nice and clean, that they were in the firstborn in the family and the family all the time together. Because nowadays is that there is a lot of second marriages that happen, and then there's a mixing of the children, and then there's et cetera. So all of these, each position that I'm going to discuss has its particular characteristics. But if you were, for instance, a second child, and the first child died, or the first child left, or the first child went away, or something, when you were in your young years, then you automatically become the eldest child. Okay, so there's circumstances like that that would affect you. If you were an only child and then came into a family and then suddenly you became the eldest child in the family, then you would have the only child characteristics as well as the eldest child characteristics. If you were the only child and came into a family as a youngest child, then it is you would have the only child and the youngest child characteristics. So, you know, we've got to weigh this up, and depending on what happened to you in your life. Now, bearing in mind, it is the first 7 years that have the most impact on your life. So in your first 7 years or 8 years or 9 years or maybe even 10 years, it is that if you were in this position for that period of time, then you are definitely imbued with these strengths. Kind of thing. Is that clear? Okay, so let's kick off. We kick off with the eldest child. And with the eldest child, simply by being a couple's first child, a firstborn will naturally be raised with a mixture of instinct and trial and error from the parents, because the parents simply don't know what it is that they are doing, okay? Which is different when the second child comes around, because they have learned a lot from the first child. So this often causes parents to become by the book caregivers who are extremely attentive, stringent with rules, and overly neurotic about the minutiae of the way that the children behave. This in turn may cause the child to become a perfectionist, always striving to please his parents. And this is now what happens also when you're the only child. Okay, you get all of this focus on you, and kind of like the parents never get a chance to see what it is like to have another child. Because if you're the only child, then this is the only thing that they know, and they're only learning from you by trial and error. Okay, and to see, well, what works and what doesn't work. So you are the great experiment when you're the first child or the only child, okay, for the parents. Firstborns bask in their parents' presence, which may explain why they sometimes act like mini adults. They're also diligent and want to excel at everything they do. As the leader of the pack, firstborns often tend to have extreme confidence, and are high achievers. They are driven, self-assured, and confident. The organizational skills is another attribute that they have. And they're usually good at finding things, even if they appear messy or unorganized. They are likely to have a system with them. They want to keep up the image that they are somehow perfect. They are determined, responsible, reliable, conscientious, structured. They can be controlling. Okay, now you can use controlling in a positive way. Controlling is to control yourself, or if you want to, if you control those around you, that's the negative use of your control. Okay, now that means that you have got the control, and the control is a fabulous thing to have. You just got to learn to use it in a constructive way. So if we say that this is a pendulum and this is control, this would be imbalance. Control like that, where you're controlling the environment around you, that's out of balance. When there's no control, then it's like that. Then it is that we have this don't care attitude. That's not. When you've got the control around there, then you control yourself, and then through controlling yourself, you can manage the environment around you. Good thing to have, and it's a fundamental skill to have if you want to be a manager, to have the ability to control. Okay, because it is you control the environment at strategic points in there, and you go and see, well, at this point, is everything functioning? Yes or no? If it's no, then you go back and you go and have a look. But in order to do that, you've got to have this ability to control within yourself. All mums who are at home and who can teach control to their children, those mums that leave the home one day, when the children leave the home, they can go into a supervisory role or a managerial role just like that, because lots of these skills they've had to learn in order to run the home, right? Would you agree?
Interesting.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so the firstborn tend to be achievers. Other traits being eager to please. They are also used to having the approval of others, specifically mom and dad. And so they continue to seek approval from everyone around them. They'll do whatever it takes to get the job done. So some of the firstborn strengths are often being used to being the center of attention. He has mom and dad to himself before the siblings arrive. It's the same as the only child. Many parents spend more time reading and explaining things to the firstborn. It's not as easy when other kids come around into the picture. Okay, because mom is busy, yeah, and he's busy there, and kind of like, Mom, remember me? We used to read together. Remember, you used to teach me all these things. Okay, and say, yes, but you know, I'm busy with so and so, and I got to do this and I got to do that, and I can't spend the time, and you read the books for yourself. But Mom, it's not the same, right? Says a mom. Yeah, she can see it. I can see it. The undivided attention may have a lot to do with the firstborns, who tend to be overachievers. In addition to usually scoring a higher IQ in their tests and generally get more education than their brothers and sisters, firstborns tend to out-earn their siblings. And that was me. I'm the firstborn. So the firstborn challenges. Success comes with a price. Firstborns tend to be A-type personalities who never cut themselves any slack. They often have an intense fear of failure, so nothing they accomplish feels good enough. And because they dread making a misstep, oldest kids tend to stick to the straight and narrow, what works and what doesn't work. Okay, and they stick with the steps that it works. Creativity, not quite the greatest strength of the eldest child or the firstborn. They are typically inflexible. They don't like change, are hesitant to step out of their comfort zone. In addition, because firstborns are often given a lot of responsibility at home, whether it is helping with chores or watching over younger siblings, they can be quick to take charge and be bossy when they do. That burden can lead to excess stress for a child who already feels pressure to be perfect. So that's the eldest one. Now, the next one that we're going to chat about is the middle child. Okay, the middle child personalities. If the couple decides to have a second child, they might raise their second-born with less of an iron fist due to the previous experience. They might also be less attentive since there's other children in their lives and the other children can help. Therefore, the middle child is often a people pleaser due to the lack of attention he or she gets in comparison to the elder sibling and a younger sibling. The middle child often feels left out and a sense of, well, I'm not the oldest and I'm not the youngest, so who am I? And where do I fit in? And how do I fit in? Okay, and kind of like mom and dad was big focus on the eldest one, and the eldest one gets told and everything how to do, and the eldest one's got to look after us. And then mom and dad are focused on the youngest one, the third one, and oh, shame, you know. The youngest one, well, this is the last born one, and you know, it's the smallest one, and so on. And so the attention goes, yeah, and goes there. And the one in the middle says, well, hello, I'm here too. Remember me? Okay, always looking for attention, always having to please others in order for them to get attention. So the middle child often feels left out and a sense of, well, I'm the oldest and I'm not the youngest, which is that, who am I? This sort of hierarchical floundering leads to middle children to make their mark among their peers, since parental attention is usually devoted to the beloved firstborn or the baby of the family. So this is make their mark amongst their peers, is that they compare themselves to others of the same age and about how they are doing at school and how they're doing in sport, and then they try and compete with those for the attention, or that they spend time and they really work hard. So the middle child has got one of two ways to go. This is that they can either be the rebel, and in being the rebel, they get the attention. Or the other way is that they become the super achiever and they work really hard and they get good marks and and through that process, they get the attention that they're looking for. Okay, on a thing. So in general, middle children tend to possess the following personality traits. They tend to be people pleasers, somewhat rebellious from time to time. They thrive on friendships. Oh boy, do they love friendships. They have got the friends everywhere. They have a large social circle, and they tend to be a peacemaker. So the middle child's strengths are, they tend to be go with the flow kind of types. Okay. Once a younger child arrives, they must learn how to constantly negotiate and compromise in order to fit in somewhere with everyone around them. Not surprisingly, middle kids score higher in agreeableness than both the older and the younger siblings. People are drawn to them because they want to please. They are good socialites. They interact. They can see both sides of the spectrum, and they're quite sort of accepting kind of children. The middle child challenges are, middle kids once lived as the baby of the family until they were dethroned by the new sibling that arrived. Unfortunately, they often are acutely aware that they don't get as much parental attention as their trailblazing older sibling or their beloved youngest one. You know, shame. The youngest one is still small and always somehow stays small, even though they become older and older and older. They're always the youngest one, and they always have this other little spot that parents give them. And they feel like their needs and wants are ignored. Middle kids are in a difficult position in a family because they think that they are not valued. It's easy for them to be left out and get lost in the shuffle. Parents with 3 children generally admit to giving the middle child far less attention than they gave to the other 2. And it's not because they don't want to, it's just because of the way the nature is with all of the children. That to give them all the equal attention all at the same time, and you know, moms are only moms, dads are only dads. They are not super human beings. So the next one that we move on to is the youngest child. The youngest child personality traits. They tend to be the most free-spirited due to their parents' increasing laissez-faire. Okay, their attitude towards parenting the second or the third or the fourth or the fifth time round, the baby tends to have the following birth traits. They are sensitive to criticism, and it makes them really aware and are sensitive to other people and their feelings. The youngest child is just so sensitive. They are really fun-loving children. They're uncomplicated children, but yet they are highly manipulative. They're outgoing, okay? They're outgoing and they are the attention seeker. And they also often self-centered. It's all about me and what it is that I want and not about anybody else, okay? The youngest child's strengths generally aren't the strongest or the smartest in the room. And so they develop their own ways of winning attention. They're natural charmers with an outgoing social personality. no surprise then that many famous actors and comedians tend to be the baby of the family, or that they score higher in agreeableness on personality tests than the firstborn, than the eldest child. The youngest also make a play for the spotlight with their adventurousness. Them being free-spirited lastborns are more often to unconventional experiences and taking physical risks than their siblings. The youngest child's challenges are known for that feeling that nothing I do is important. None of their accomplishments seem to be original because everybody else has done it before them. Their siblings have already learned to talk, to read, and to ride a bike. It's like the eldest one, when they ride a bike or they learn to start to walk, there's lots of praise and there's lots of excitement and there's lots of things that happen to them. By the time the third one gets there and says, oh, yes, yeah, no, you know, little Johnny started to walk yesterday, and say, oh, okay. Parents often cuddle the littlest one when it comes to, or coddle rather, the littlest one when it comes to doing chores and rules, failing to hold them to the same standards as their siblings. They are the least likely ones to be disciplined. They're very free-spirited and go around and go and do things, and they just don't like discipline whatsoever. So that brings us to the last lot that we want to talk about, and this is the only child personality traits. Being an only child is a unique position. Without any siblings to compete with, the only child monopolizes his parents' attention, his or her parents' attention, and resources, not just for a short period of time, like the firstborn, but forever. In effect, this makes an only child something like a super firstborn. Only children have the privilege and the burden of having all of the parents' support and the expectations on their shoulders. Thus, the only children tend to be mature for their age, perfectionists, conscientious, diligent, and they could be leaders. So that brings us to the end of the strengths that have come about as a result of the different kinds of positions in the family. Now, Chanel, before we were talking a little bit about the mixture that can possibly happen. Now, having listened to these things, how do you think it is that these played out in your life? What are the ones that you can see for you? And before you answer that, could you just explain a little bit about the background of it? Yes, you were like this, and then you became that, and then how that affected you.
So I'm my mom's only child, and I am one of 4 on my father's side. So I never met my eldest brother, my father's firstborn. I have half brothers of my father's side, a brother and a sister. So it's a little bit complicated. I'm my mom's only child, so that makes me an only child. And I'm the oldest, because I'm the first child of my father, because the eldest passed away. So I can definitely see the qualities being an only child and being the first child, a little bit. Yeah, I can see the qualities of being independent, growing up very quickly, taking responsibilities, leading. Yeah, it's quite interesting because you think of, while you talk, you think of other people that are first, second, or third. Like, yeah, no, yeah, that's true. Oh yes, I can definitely see those qualities, and then you wonder about your own children, how they're going to be, So yeah, it's really, 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 really interesting. Wow. And I think it's important to know and learn this about yourself. The position in your family is most definitely important to know why. Oh, this is why. Okay, so all the others are also like this, and oh, definitely. Wow, it's really interesting.
Okay, so you bring up a very important point, because this is now identifying the strengths of you. So in the first video that we did is that we got the strengths of you that came out of the sexual abuse. Now you combine these strengths with you. Now you're starting to develop quite a big picture of yourself. Okay. Now,
Yes.
over and beyond that, now there will be other things that it is that you've had to develop, or that you naturally got, perhaps from a past life or something that you brought into this life. Okay, that these are other strengths. So in the next video, it is that I'm going to go and give you a list of the things, and they will come up on the screen for you to look at. And then the idea would be now for you to take strengths from the first video, strengths from this video, and then strengths from the third video, and then that is going to make you up. And that is who you are, and that is what people see in you. So Chanel, if you had to ask your husband, what does he see in you? Why is he attracted to you? Okay, because these are the things that he sees in you, these strengths, not the issues. The issues is you. Okay, the issues are the things that held you back. He didn't see that. He sees these others. And when you see this list of the strengths of you, it gives you a completely different perspective of self, a different view of self. Yeah, a different, everything about
to see them and weigh them up, and makes you think. And because when you know it's true, then you know it's true, and now you see it on paper. Just as we started a long time ago with affirmations, and all of these steps that and levels that we go through with you, it grows with repeat. It grows more and more and more and more as you become them, understand them, and then you change.
Right, exactly. Okay, one thing. But also what happens is that now you've got this list of strengths down, one thing. And then as you go about your day-to-day activities, then suddenly you make the connection. Oh, look, I'm using this strength. I'm using this strength. Or I'm doing this strength. Or, yeah. Or it is that, well, actually, I've got this strength, but I didn't realize I've got it. And now I can use it in a constructive way. So that's the reason that we're doing all of these. So I look forward to meeting you with the next exciting episode on the last leg of our strengths list. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Peter.
We'll see you in the next exciting episode.
Bye.
Bye.